So in this video, we're going to keep trying to find values of trig functions based on information we're given. So I have two problems for us to look at here. So the first one says, let theta be an angle in quadrant 1 such that the secant of theta is equal to 8/7. Find the cotangent and the sine. So the first thing to recognize is to remember what secant is. So remember, secant is the hypotenuse over the adjacent. And so if we draw that, then so we have some angle that's sitting in quadrant 1. So here's my angle theta, and it says that the hypotenuse would be 8, and the adjacent, so if I drop down here and make a triangle, the adjacent is going to be 7. So the first thing I have to do is find that side. So if I use Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a is going to be, we'll call that the 7. So 7 squared plus b squared equals 8 squared. So 49 plus b squared equals 64. If I take the 64 minus 49, b squared is going to be 15. So b is going to be plus or minus the square root of 15. And since we're dealing with an angle in quadrant 1, we're talking about plus the square root of 15 here. Now all we have to do is look at what they wanted us to find. So they wanted us to find the cotangent of theta, and they wanted us to find the sine of theta. So remember, cotangent is going to be the adjacent 7 over the opposite square root of 15. And again, you don't have to rationalize that answer. You can just leave it this way. And sine is going to be the opposite, square root of 15 over the hypotenuse, so over 8. So again, in the next example, it's kind of similar again. So let theta be an angle such that theta is in quadrant 3 this time, and the tangent is 15/8. So remember, the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So, and we're in quadrant 3, so we're sitting somewhere down here. So the opposite side here would be 15, and the adjacent is 8. Now we have to look at where we are in the xy plane. So since we're in the third quadrant, this is actually a negative 15, and this is actually a negative 8. And then we have to find the other part. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And in this case, I happen to know a and b. So we're going to have negative 8 squared plus negative 15 squared equals c squared. So we're going to have 64 plus 225 equals c squared. So if I add those two together, I get 289 is equal to c squared. And then I just want to take the square root of that. And so it's actually so we're going to have plus or minus the square root of 289. And 289 is actually a perfect square, so it's plus or minus, plus or, let me move this up a tiny bit here. Plus or minus 17. And so it's the hypotenuse. So remember, the hypotenuse is always positive, so it's going to be a positive 17. And then we're looking for the cosine of theta. So the cosine of theta is going to be the adjacent, negative 8, over the hypotenuse, 17. And then we're also looking for the cosecant of theta. And so the cosecant of theta is going to be the hypotenuse, 17, over the opposite. So it would be over negative 15. And I could rewrite that if I wanted to as minus 15. Not minus 15. Minus 17 over 15. So you just want to use the information that you're given and find the stuff that you're looking for.